Thank you very much, everyone, for having me here. I hope you can see my slides on the Zoom call. I'm Awais Rashid. I'm Professor of Cybersecurity at the University of Bristol. I'm the Principal Investigator and Editor-in-Chief of the Cybersecurity Body of Knowledge. This is a project that was funded by the National Cybersecurity Program and is still running. As with any project, I'm not of this scale. I'm not the only person who does this. I've been joined in this endeavor in leading it by a number of people over the last 4 years or so. Andrew Martin, Emil Lupu, Howard Shivers, and George Denizis were part of the original editorial team, and Yvonne Rigby was our project manager. As again, with any project of this size, there tends to be people who have other responsibilities, so they move on, and there has been a bit of a changeover as well in that Julia and Steve have since joined us. Howard has actually recently stepped down, so we will be looking for a replacement for him, and our project manager also changed very recently, Helen Jones. And of course, there have been a number of researchers and others who have contributed, students as well, and they are listed here. So just to acknowledge that it's not a solitary effort. We are also very lucky over the years to have had good advice and feedback. We used to have a separate professional advisory board, people from industry, and also an international academic advisory board. At some point, we merged the two into a steering committee. And this is the current steering committee chaired by Sir Edmund Burton, whom I think many of you know. And we have representatives from various professional bodies, including more recently the Cybersecurity Council. The CEO, Simon Hepburn, has joined us, as well as international academic experts, as well as industry organizations. Okay, so what's the purpose of CyBOK? So CyBOK's purpose is to codify foundational and generally recognized knowledge in cybersecurity. So the idea being that this is not meant to be an encyclopedia. And the focus is actually on knowledge, not skills. So we recognize that skills are very important in the cybersecurity sector, but knowledge underpins skills. And this is really what we are focusing on. And the keyword here is also foundational. So it's not about everything that has ever been written on the topic, but something that forms the foundations of particular knowledge areas, and we will come to that, as well as it has to have broad community engagement. So this is something that the community agrees on as foundational knowledge. It's a guide to the body of knowledge. So the body of knowledge is out there in the form of scientific publications, industry reports, standards, whatever. And this is almost like a précis, a summary of guiding people towards that body of knowledge. Why have this? Because of course, like any other field, knowledge in cybersecurity varies in quality. So as you're designing new training programs, new education programs, it gives people an authoritative source to go and look at what kind of key fundamental topics do they need to cover as they design that program. But there are other use cases, and we will come to that. So there are certain principles that underpin what we do. While the project has been funded by the UK's National Cybersecurity Program, we took a very early decision that this would be an international effort, because of course we have a number of really excellent experts in the UK, but the UK's cybersecurity can't live in isolation from the rest of the world. And there's lots of really good expertise out there around the planet on particular topics in cybersecurity. So this has been an international effort where we have engaged authors and reviewers from across the world. It's an effort that is meant to be for the community, by the community. So the editorial board really acts as custodian and as a guardian of this resource, rather than making just decisions on our own. And I'll come to that as to how we do that. It's open and freely accessible. So it's not behind a paywall. You don't even have to give your login details to join. You just come, you download everything freely available, and transparency. So everything we do goes up onto the website, with the exception of individual comments that we receive, because under ethics, we're not allowed to do that because they may have identifiable information. But all the work that we do ends up on the website, freely usable for anybody who wants to use it. So the project is currently in its fourth phase, usually determined by the funding. Phase one was the scoping phase, where we did a lot of wide community consultations back in 2017, almost 50-50 in terms of representation from industry and academia, which led to the scope of CyBOK, the original 19 knowledge areas. Phase two is where the various knowledge area descriptions were developed. And again, as I said, this is for the community and by the community. So there is always, while there is a panel of reviewers who review each knowledge area, there is always an open call for reviews and comments, and the knowledge area evolves quite significantly from that. Phase three, which finished earlier this year, was about its usage in education and professional context, and we'll come to that, but also maintenance and evolution. So there is an open call that runs for people to propose changes to CyBOK and update things. And we do pay a lot of attention to that, and I'll come to why we have ended up as a result of that from CyBOK 1 to CyBOK 1.1. And at the moment, our focus is really on collaboration with the UK Cybersecurity Council, again, more maintenance and evolution and practical usage. And there is an ongoing building relationship with the UK Cybersecurity Council, because in due course, this is likely to be housed with the UK Cybersecurity Council. So this was the scope that we identified about 3.5 years ago through our community consultations. And if you can think about this, there is in the middle, there are the more kind of technical topics in cybersecurity. So you've got topics around system security, such as operating systems and virtualization, cryptography, authentication, authorization, and accountability. You've got topics such as infrastructure, so networks, cyber physical systems, telecommunications. You've got software and platform security, so web and mobile. But on the right-hand side, you have an arc of attacks and defenses, so security operations and incident management, forensics, but also malware and attack technologies. And on the left-hand side, you've got human, organizational, and regulatory aspects such as risk management and law and regulation, and so on. Because cybersecurity, all this really encompasses cybersecurity. It's not just about system security or risk management. Depending on your job, you may need a combination of these knowledge areas. So the idea isn't that a professional knows everything here. I don't know everything here in depth. Okay, nobody can expect to, but depending on your job roles, you may know more of the human, organizational, and regulatory aspects with some understanding of the more technical elements, or you may know a lot more about attacks and defenses with a bit of understanding of the human and organizational aspects and a bit more of the technical side. As I said, there is an open call for comments, and we receive comments through that on a regular basis. So a few pieces of feedback that came through to us was that the network security knowledge area needed more of an understanding of different types of network architectures and their security requirements. There was also feedback on the fact that we need to have more depth on verifying security properties of critical systems in a formal method sense. And also that while there was a really good cryptography knowledge area, there is a whole area of applied cryptography as to how you use crypto systems in practice, and that we needed something along that. So based on that, we updated CyBOK. There is a process for that, which is online, but it all happens through a very systematic process with checks and balances from the steering committee. So we added a new knowledge area on applied cryptography very recently. We added a new knowledge area on formal methods for security, and we updated the network security knowledge area, and we've also made some small changes throughout. So what does that mean? CyBOK 1.1, as it is out there right now, but we maintain a proper systematic version management. So 1.0 and all the resources are also available. It has over 115 expert authors and reviewers and advisors who have contributed to it. It has over 2,200 authoritative sources. There have been over 1,600 comments from the wider community, and we've had feedback through various invited talks, panels, and keynotes as well. There are a number of other resources along with this. So each of the knowledge area has a podcast. So if you wanted to have a light introduction to it, you can just listen to it for about 20 minutes. There is a webinar for most of the knowledge area. So about an hour-long, lecture from one of the experts on the topic. We have a mapping reference with over 13,000 terms, which maps where you may find a particular topic within CyBOK, which knowledge area. So if you're familiar with the topic from your work, you may just go look up and go, this knowledge area is where I want to go look for. And we also added an index for easy lookup of terms, because that was actually requested by people in the community. We've also recently started to fund small community projects to develop additional resources. We funded 8 of these, and the results are also going on the web. A couple are still to go online. I'll just pick on 2 very quickly. The one from Nancy Mead, formerly of CMU in the US, developed a number of case studies in support of CyBOK. So now you've got a set of case studies for educators and trainers, and which knowledge areas would they cover. And the other one is by Cliff at Leeds Beckett, which is really a number of practical challenges freely available on GitHub, which you can then map to particular topics in CyBOK automatically to say, well, this is the topic I want to give labs or practical hands-on experience to people in my course, and these are the labs that I'm going to use from here. We've actually funded further new small projects, off the top of my head, about 7, and we will be announcing them shortly. And just to indicate, I mean, they're not just for academics, so we do get industry requests for these small projects as well when the call goes out, and we do fund them with industry as well. There are many use cases of CyBOK. I alluded to these. So one is, designing new university or professional training programs. So if you're designing a new program, you go and you look at relevant knowledge areas. As I said, you're not expected to cover everything in CyBOK. For instance, we have recently designed a whole new program, and our go-to place for CyBOK to decide which knowledge areas we would use and what would be the key topics we would cover within those knowledge areas. It is also a good basis to design new certification schemes. So then NCSC currently run a certified degrees program in the UK, which certifies undergraduate and postgraduate degrees. Their latest iteration about a year ago moved on to CyBOK. So currently, if you attend a future certified degree in the UK, then the degree would have been certified on the basis of CyBOK. And the way it works is that we have generated these knowledge trees that you see relating to each of the knowledge areas. And by controlling the depth or breadth of where you go in the tree, you can have more depth on a particular topic or more breadth across your coverage, because you may want to give people a kind of a very general introduction to cybersecurity, in which case you want to have perhaps, top level topics and you don't want to go deep. But if you wanted to give them in-depth knowledge of, say, software security, as what's shown here, then you would want to go much, much deeper into the tree. And you can see those kind of things. You can also use this as a result to traceably map and show that you meet any certification requirements. We also built a mapping framework, which enables you to map different certifications or different degree programs or different professional programs onto CyBOK. Again, this is available, and we have done mappings of a number of professional certifications from the likes of IC² and ISACA. And again, the data for all of that is available online. It can also be used to define knowledge requirements for job roles. We are currently doing a piece of work on using this as a basis to benchmark capacity in organizations so that you know where your coverage is and where you need more. But the example I would give here is that you can contrast the focus of different programs. So as you can see, if you are looking for someone who primarily needed to understand more about human organization and regulatory aspect, typically your risk auditor role, then you want someone with the profile that looks like on the bottom left. On the other hand, if you actually wanted someone to know much more about system security and infrastructure security and attacks and defenses, then you want to go towards the top right. And this is not meant to be a critique of any of these programs or courses. This is meant to say there are many different types of cybersecurity experts, and different jobs need different types of cybersecurity experts and knowledge profiles. And what you can do is, based on understanding what the profile of a course is, you would be able to say, this person actually suits much better my needs as an employer rather than someone else. And also as a learner, if you wanted to develop in a particular area, then you can see which course actually supports your needs better. As I said, we don't require people to log in to download CyBOK, so we don't always know who is using CyBOK, but we do see the number of hits on the website. So as you can see, it's already until September this year. and last year as well, very high number of hits, and loads of downloads. Within a couple of months, we had plenty of downloads of CyBOK 1.1 as well. So it is being used, and we get often insights from people, about using it. And if they send us something, then we would put that up on the website as to how they're using it. So I'm happy to stop here.